Hi guys, so trying something a little bit new here. I'm using the 360 camera and it's extremely difficult to edit and the sound isn't brilliant, so I had all this really nice 360 footage that you can quite easily control yourself. If you're on a phone, move your phone screen while you're watching it and you can look at other areas of the garden, look up, down, 360 literally. If you're on a PC, you just place your mouse and drag it left and right, up and down, and you can view. I didn't want to waste the footage, so I thought I would do a quick Q&A. I asked on Instagram and I asked on the Lawn Care Legends page for a few questions, just so you guys can find out about us and what we do and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll start with the more silly questions first, and then I'll go on to the more serious ones. So one of the first questions, and anyone that asks a question, if they do want a shout out, I will give them one. I have had some that have been asked to be anonymous, so I will keep them anonymous. So the first question is from Chris Wakelin, the Country Cottage Gardener. He's on YouTube, look him up. He asks, if I have two beans and then I had two more beans, what do I have? Well, the question is two beans or not two beans? That is the question. So that's your answer, Chris. The other one was from Tom Duchesne, however he says it. It's a weird name. From Top Garden Services. Again, he's on YouTube, but he's a lot more active on Instagram, so go give him a look and a follow. His question was, how do I keep my beard so lush? Work outside. If you did some work, Tom, outside instead of being in office all the time messing about on Instagram, you would know this. Oh, and if you could grow a beard. Questions I got was from a local gardener called Nigel of NM Lawn Care, or is it gardening? Oh no, it's NM Gardening. And he asked, how do I find the time to do the YouTube, the Instagram, the Lawn Care Legends, and stuff like that? Well, we don't work weekends. Averagely, we agreed after the first year the weekends wasn't doing anything for us except tiring us out, and this is my passion in a sense. I really enjoy doing the YouTube, the Instagram, and stuff like that, and the video editing. So many a late night is spent sat here talking to this disc in front of my face. I said disc in front of my face, and editing and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff people don't see. I edit a lot of stuff and just keep it for myself. But yeah, that's how I find the time. I just make time for it. It's a lot of late nights, but you do what you've got to do. And thanks to that, Nigel and Greg Francis of Greg's Mowings. He is on YouTube as well, very active on there. Go and give him a look and a follow. Everyone that I mentioned will be a link in the description. His question was, how long have you been in the business and what did you go into gardening for? Why did you go into gardening, sorry? So officially, I started DSA gardening when I was 15. I'm now 32, so 17 years ago. I was in college training to do horticulture. I started on a Saturday course, thinking that's all I needed because I thought I have to have a full-time job. I went to one of the Saturday courses, and they says this isn't what you need to be doing. You need to be doing amenity horticulture. The Saturday course was plant-based, design-based, building your own little planters and stuff like that for your garden. More of an adult learning course in a sense. So after that Saturday, within 2 weeks, me and my cousin Shane, who is the S in DSA, had started a full-time horticultural course, which was at the time the NVQ one. It is now the City and Guilds one. They had different names back then. They're the exact same course. So whilst in college, obviously we was doing little bits and bats. I'd always enjoyed being out in the garden. I had a small gardening round when I was about 10. Just dragging the lawnmower around the local elderly estates, the bungalows and stuff like that, and just cutting the grass for them for like £2.50, £5 and stuff like that. So while we're in college, we kept getting asked by odd people to do work, so we invested in some tools. I still have the mower and the strimmer. The mower was a performance power from B&Q. It was 89.99. We saved up for weeks to buy that. And then the strimmer was one my dad had bought when we moved into the house we live in now, which was a McCulloch Trimac 210. Still runs to this day. I don't run it a lot. Obviously, it doesn't have a bump head because they don't make them anymore. But it still runs and just sits there in shed to remind me where I started. Um, so at 15, me and our Shane, we would every now and then when we went to college, we'd cut neighbours' lawns. We had a church on us list that we used to go cut, but we used their tools because we had no transport. It was 15. Um, we did 2 years at college. During that time, I set up the business properly. I got the logo, which we still use to this day. I got the website, which I bought all the way back then, and stuff like that. When we left college at 17 and 18, after doing as level 1 and as level 2 in MVQ, as we did dry stone walling, we did garden design, garden history, plant identification. Did around 7 years of courses over the 2.5 years, doing some days 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. So we had night classes after we finished. We tried to make a go with the business, so we did advertising and stuff like that. Every job we got to, it was, oh, you don't really seem old enough to be doing this. There was no trust for us. So at that point, we needed to be doing something. We needed work. So Shane and the other cousin Scott, they both went to go work in a paint factory. But I really wanted to try and stay in the gardening side, so I got a job at a local garden centre called Tong Garden Centre. I originally went there to just be a standard plantsman. I was there for 4 years, so I was just knocking on 21, 22 at the time. And I got sacked. So once I left Tong, it was New Year's Day, if I remember, or just before New Year's. It wasn't far off. I decided that I wanted to make a go of the business properly. I had like 6 months off trying to decide what I wanted to do. I thought, should I go back into electrics and stuff like that? At the time, I was very into customizing LEDs and LED signs and stuff like that, and the graphics designs, which a lot of people on Instagram, Facebook, and that know. They have seen the logos and stuff like that that I've helped design for other people. I was undecided at the point, and then one of my mum's friends, ex-builder, just wanted to go into gardening as well. So at the time, I was like, well, why don't we start a business up? So I was on job seekers at the time. I'd been out of work for 6 months. I went to see an advisor, and not a single one had any idea how to help anyone that was self-employed. It was kind of disgusting, really. And then one day, a gent inside the job centre called Neil. He'd been self-employed his whole life. Before he went to go work at the job centre, he knew exactly that there was systems in place to help people. Within 2 weeks, he got me on a course to become self-employed. It was called the New Enterprise Allowance Scheme. Via the New Enterprise Allowance Scheme, you had to go on like a training course where you did your business plan and stuff like that. And during that time, you could apply for loans to help you start the business and such like that. So after the 4 week course, just before Christmas, we started the business, due to like constraints that we had within starting a business through the enterprise allowance. I had to wait until April the following year to actually start the business officially. During that time, we was allowed to work, so we could find customers and look for work and stuff like that. We just couldn't work full time. We had to declare any work that we did we had to declare, all that type of stuff. So in April we started DSA gardening. I took £1,000 business loan out from the scheme itself. We bought a black Ford Focus Estate on an O2 plate with that, and away we went with the tools that we had. First few years was a struggle. Was turning over very little money. Was finding plenty of work, but in our area it was very cheap work. Most of you know we're in Leeds. There is a huge amount of competition up here. There is so many people charging nothing, and they only last a few months, but it draws the prices down. So at the time, me and Andrew would just work all sorts, do handyman and stuff like that. About 4 years into it, we was making alright money. We'd got some good contracts in place, but it just wasn't for Andrew anymore at the time. At that time, James, who a few of you have met at Soltex and at the events and stuff like that, he was at Tong. I'd met him at Tong. He'd been there for 8 years at this point. He wanted something new. I offered him the chance to come into the business, and he snapped my hand off. He bought Andrew out of his part because Andrew, when he left his car, his tools and everything, because that's what we had. So he left everything in the business, and James bought that out. At this time, we did have like a template transit van. We had upgraded quite a bit. We was on his third transit within 4 years. And then James joined, and then since then, YouTube started, business has boomed. We have customers like the one that's in this video here, that we have carte blanche on the garden, pond and anything. And we have quite a few customers like this now where they trust us to do the work, and that's the biggest change since I started out at 15 to now being 32. Is now I never get questioned, do you seem young or anything like that. So I can see it being an issue for some people, but hopefully it's not as bad as it was when I was younger. And to answer the other part of it, why I got into gardening, I've always worked outside. I've always liked being outside, and it gets to play on all my like passions and stuff like that. So gardening, tools, woodwork, electrical, design, building, graphic design, and then for the technology side, there's YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. So I get to still play with all the toys, but I get to do it while I'm doing gardening and not stuck in an office. So thanks for that one, Greg. Sorry it was a really long answer, but there was quite a lot involved in me actually starting the business and getting it where it is now. The next question came from... let's have a look. Oh, sorry. This one was anonymous and was in my message box, and it was asking, why am I a member of Lawn Care Legends? Well, if anyone doesn't know what Lawn Care Legends is a Facebook group. Unlike most groups out there, it's mainly a support-based group where we don't allow negativity, we don't allow badgering or rudeness or anything like that, because at the end of the day we're all in the same boat, and having a support structure there that you find with Lawn Care Legends is very important, and it's probably one of the better groups on there. There is other groups out there, but Lawn Care Legends seems to be the one that I really do prefer, and that's why I'm an admin on there. I accidentally found Lawn Care Legends through watching YouTube videos. I had no idea where at that time. I watched John Ryan's videos at the time, and he mentioned it, and I joined up, and ever since then we've had the events and stuff like that, and it's growing bigger and bigger. But the reason why is it's one of the only truly supportive groups on Facebook where no matter if you don't have the most perfect stripes in the world or you don't have the best equipment in the world, you are not going to get berated and made to feel small because of it. Because if anyone's done this long enough, knows that feeling when you go past someone else's van or Facebook post or Instagram post and you're pushing your £100 B&Q special mower and they've got the £1,000, the £2,000 bigger end haters, not the best mowers in the world, but still it was something to look to. The van's full of still equipment and stuff like that. It's hard when you're starting out to realise that that could be where you are. I'm very lucky position now that I have all the tools that I've always wanted, like there in the video now. There's a big 410C. I never thought I would be able to afford something like that. And that's what Lawn Care Legend gives. There was some other questions. I'd prefer not to talk about them on here. Anyone that did send the questions, I have sent you replies through that. There is some questions in there that I don't think should go out on YouTube. But if anyone does have any questions or want to find anything out, give me a shout. Thanks for listening, and sorry about the huge rant in the middle about how I started the business, but I'm very passionate about that part and do have a lot to say. So thanks again. I'll leave you some 3D images of a pond that we custom built last year and some of the fish living in there, and you can see in the distance James fiddling about with his water feature. Thanks a lot. Bye.